Okay, I'm making this video for all you DJs out there who use Serato and do multiple venues. Those that do weddings and clubs, and maybe you want to mess around at home, but you want your libraries in your Serato to be separate. And I thought about this. I could either get a ton of flash drives and plug them in, like, make this flash drive wedding, make this one house music, make this one country music, make this one Latin, and just plug them in as necessary. But then I thought, well, that's a pain in the ass to have all this stuff hanging off the side of my computer, solid state drives and stuff like that. So the way it stands, if you take an external drive and hook it up to Serato, while you're in Serato, let's say this is my internal library, okay? Now let's say I connect another drive, this one here, there's nothing on it, and you start dragging, folders into here. They will show up here. But when you disconnect the drive, they're not there anymore. They disappear, because what it does is it stores a Serato library on every volume. And it's a separate volume. It's removable, so okay, the good thing is when the volume disappears, it disappears out of your library. That's great. But what do you do if you want it all on your drive at the same time and be able to choose? So what I came up with was I was going to go into disk management and I was going to split this up. This is a 2 terabyte drive. I was going to split it into 1 terabyte, 1 terabyte. And I was going to put my remixes on one. I was going to put my radio edits on another. And then, then I realized that on a Mac, on a newer Mac, it can't be an old one. It has to be running latest operating system or pretty recent. There's a file format called APFS. It's made by Apple. It's specifically designed for solid state drives. It's optimized for solid states, and it's faster and it is more robust. Okay, so it has a lot of journaling built in. This is not HFS. This will not work on an old Mac, and it will not work on a Windows PC unless you load special software. So keep that in mind. Okay, this is for all you own is a regular, brand new, recent, should I say, Mac. So what you do is you format the drive, erase, and you pick 4 terabyte. I'm going to call it APFS GUID. Hit the button here. Okay, now I have a drive. But here's the beauty. Here's where no one's ever come up with this. I don't know why, and it's just stupid. On that top drive, you can do... let's see if I can remember how to do this. You click down on the container, not on the disk itself, but the container, or the drive itself, whatever. I'm going to go container and hit the little plus button. And I'm adding a volume to this. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you what this does, but let's say I'm going to call this first container chronology. Okay, boom. It created it. Now let's create a couple more. Club. All right, and go here, volume, paste. Okay, it's quick. Now I have to tell you why this is important, because it's not obvious, but you'll see in a second. Okay, so I've got 3 volumes. The way this works is this 4 terabyte drive. Okay. I'm going to actually delete this 4 terabyte here. Okay, so what we have is 3 volumes underneath of the main APFS container. So the way this works is this 4 terabyte drive, if you look at it, it's 4 terabytes free. I go down to the club one. Guess what? It's 4 terabytes. It's shared by 3 other volumes. Country, shared by 3 other volumes. So what it does is it pulls that full 4 terabyte drive, and then it allocates up to whatever space you have left. So let's say I copy 500 gig to this and 500 gig to that. That's a terabyte. Then this one would have, or actually they all would have, in this case, 3 terabytes left to use in the pool. But here's the part that people don't really think about. When you load up Serato, and this is my local library for the stuff that's on the hard drive itself, if I put it on an external drive and then I eject that drive, it disappears out of the list, which is fine. It's just as expected. It's an external volume, it disappeared. So what my thought is, set up your music library as you want. Create all the stuff, copy all the stuff in. Then go into Serato, right? And then pick, here we go, club, country, whatever, chronology, whatever. And then drag in your playlists so they're all in a nice flat file list. And here's the beauty. If you're doing a wedding, let's say, we're going to do one here. Let's add one more container. And wedding. Okay, boom. So let's say I'm at a wedding. I don't care about club. I don't care about chronology or country. So what you do is you load up disk. You go to your gig. You go into the disk manager. Okay. By the way, it does not show up on. Oh, it does show up. I'm sorry. External drives will show up on as like here. You can see there'll all be little hard drives underneath. But I'm going to show you something else too. So what you do is I'm going to go do a wedding. I'm going to take all these. I'm going to eject them. I'm not going to eject all, just the 3 I don't want. Boom. Eject, eject, eject. Now I have just a wedding mounted. When I go back into Serato, remember, I drug in wedding and club and everything, whatever. If I don't, if it's not there, it doesn't show up in the list. So the brilliance of this is, I don't want to see the wedding shit when I'm at a club. I don't want to see, I don't want to see Latin stuff when I'm not doing a Latin gig. So that's the beauty of it, is you can actually turn off volumes and see what you want to see and still retain everything. So I'm just added a Latin folder here. Okay. Now, I took it one step further. I took my main hard drive, which has 2 terabytes, not 4, and I created 2 different things. And it works exactly the same. If I'm doing a gig, I can eject this. If I want to mess around, like I'm gonna create a volume here because I like to listen to drum and bass, so I'm gonna create a DNB premixed. Okay. And now there is a folder, excuse me, there's a volume called DNB premixed, and all my drum and bass will go in there. And when I want to mix it or just play it or whatever in Serato, then, I just mount the volume. And when I don't want to see it, I eject it. And it works. It works. Now, the only thing I've noticed is that if it's an external drive, a real external drive, the volumes will show up on your desktop. You can see them. Okay, you can turn that off. It's in the features. But when it's in the actual, internal, it doesn't show up. It doesn't show up on the desktop, but it does show up on my computer here. You'll see there's the wedding. See this little eject button? That's internal, and there's another one. Internal, external. So, okay, so for this one, you can just hit eject. You can hit eject on the wedding. I'm not doing it. Whatever. The internal stuff, you can't eject quite as easily because it's not on the desktop. So what you do is you load disk utility, and then you just say unmount. I don't want to see country. I just want to see my Louis folder, or whatever it is. So now I go here, I go home, and I look, and there's my music. There's my remix services. I'm actually going to call it that. Remix services, funky mix, alta mix, whatever. This wedding will move. So this is the beauty of this, that you can selectively turn on and off stuff without having to maintain multiple libraries, without having to have a ton of external drives being attached to the side or having separate drives that are, you have to keep plugging and unplugging or whatever. If you're lucky enough to have a large internal drive, and I got 2 terabytes, then it's great. But even on an internal drive, I can just say mount, and these will start popping up, and, Serato can get to them. So here's Chronology, Club, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for every type of music I have, club, country, drum and bass, premix, drops, holiday events, Latin, radio edits, remix services, rock. There'll be an entire rock playlist. Excuse me. There'll be an entire rock ton of playlists that I'll just be able to just do rock gigs or whatever. My software install, specific things for video, and of course wedding, which, I'm not going to use half that shit. When I'm not doing a wedding, I don't need the wedding march, so freaking turn it off. But yet still have it all in one central location. So I understand this is a long video, but I wanted to explain it because I have never seen anybody do this. Never. Everybody's either doing it like everybody is either has separate drives, which nobody does, or everybody just throws everything into the folder. Like, oh, I got polka. What the hell do you have polka for? Well, you might need it. Okay, cool, but you shouldn't have it in your library at all times. I mean, and it depends. If you rotate around and you do different types of gigs, this is brilliant. The only thing you need to keep in mind is, you need to eject stuff properly. When you reboot, everything's all going to be mounted. You can have a ton of drives, but it's no big deal. You just eject. I'm going to hit eject all. Boom. And by the way, Serato didn't say shit. Actually, it did. See how it disappeared? It disappeared. So this is, for whatever reason, these are these are stuff that are mounted locally, whatever, not on the external drive. You see how easy? Now, let's go back and just mount that again. We will mount, boom, watch, loading, song database. I would think that it also works with Virtual DJ and other programs. Boom, there it is. Selectively turning on and off your library, so much better. You don't have to see, oh, dinner music. What the hell is that doing in there if I'm working in a club? It's great for weddings, but you're never going to use it. Or bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, whatever. You're not going to use it. So Halloween, I'm going to use it once a year. So guess what? I got a holiday folder. Christmas, it'll all be in there. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, hit me up with the email. And I will try my best to explain.